Hello and welcome to the very last episode of Little Things. I am super excited because I have two special guests with me today. And just full disclosure, one of them happens to be my daughter. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves though, and you will find out soon enough which one belongs to me. Hey, it's Amber, wife, mother, type A child of God. Here at Little Things, we look at everyday issues from a biblical perspective with one simple goal: to know and love God more. Thanks for listening. I would accept both of you, quite honestly. Naomi, you can be my daughter as well anytime, so
thank you.
Go ahead, Naomi.
Sounds good. Hi, my name's Naomi Brame. I'm 25. I'm single. I live in the Fox Valley area. I'm a pediatric nurse. I love going outside and hiking and working out. Huge coffee fan, but overall just really grateful to grow closer to God and serve His people. Super excited for this conversation today.
And you and I met, how many years ago was it? You actually reached out to me.
Yeah,
you
I did.
sent me an email maybe 4 years ago or 3 years?
Yeah, it has to be at least like 3 years ago.
You just reached out and you're like, hey, thinking about blogging. Could we have a conversation? And we did.
Yes.
And when I met you over the phone, I was like, solid in her faith. I like this woman a lot. And then I walked in the core one day and here you were. So we got to meet in person. So that was awesome.
Yeah. And then I ended up connecting with your daughter a couple years later at the conference, which was crazy.
Yeah. Full circle.
Very cool.
Sage.
Well, my name is Sage Finn, and I am Amber's daughter. I am a wife of just over a year to the love of my life. We have a son together who's just about 2 months. And I was an ICU nurse before back home in Minnesota, and then moved to Wisconsin area when I got married to my husband. So I've had the joys of relocating and the growing pains of that, and I love to adventure. I love to hike. Naomi and I have just been outdoors together, and now living in the Fox Valley area, I've gotten to explore a little bit more. But
I wanted to talk relationships today, and you both are in your mid-20s. Have you noticed growing pains of trying to find Christian friends in your mid-20s versus, say, college is kind of easy when you're all in a dorm, together or whatever. You're sort of all in the same place, but then you get out of school and you start a job and finding Christian friends, and Sage relocating up and leaving one area. So what have you found tricky about friendships at this age? And maybe what have you found helps? Tricky first.
Tricky for me has been finding really solid friends who care about their faith, and they don't just say that, but they actually live it out. And then also finding time for it in busy schedules with work and just the things of life. Mm-hmm. I've gone through growing pains as well through moving. Like right after college, I lived in Louisiana a year. And then so I didn't know anyone when I moved there. First time being in the state, and then moved back a year later. And at that point, all my friends had dispersed to different areas and wasn't really connected with high school friends anymore. So it's really starting like from ground zero again. So it's putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, being active, not just sitting on a couch waiting for someone to show up.
Yeah.
But it's actually doing the hard work and being the friend that you would want to have.
Yeah. Sage, what did you find moving from Minnesota to Wisconsin? And it was really tricky for you because you moved to Billy's neck of the woods. Yeah. He was established here. He worked here. He had friends here. But you were starting all over. And you didn't want just his friends to be your friends. Mm-hmm. So how did you navigate the tricky seasons of that? And also, what really stunk about that?
Yeah, I think it's hard because in your 20s, there's so many different stages people are in. Some people have kids already that are 5, 6 years old. Some people are very single and happy to be single, want to travel until they're 30. Some people are looking for relationships. Some people are already married. And so I think, just like Naomi had said, when I came here, it was very difficult to find friends kind of in the part of life that I was in. Because at the time, I was in where my husband had lived, and I wanted to find friends that were A, Christian, but B, kind of in the stage of life that I was in too.
Yeah.
And coming pregnant already, it was like a smaller section of people. And so that was really difficult because I was coming to a new area and trying to find different people. And I think just trying to be active and trying to seek out the people was hard.
Yeah, I appreciate what you were saying about you came here, you guys moved here, and you had already found out you were pregnant. And so that kind of keeps you out of that crowd that parties or that drinking is a big part of their socialization. So you already knew, okay, I can't fit into that crowd. So you're looking for a different crowd. And at times, you think the core, we're at the core right now, and the core has a lot of members, and you think you have a huge pool. But that can be a problem too. How so?
Well, I think for speaking, like for me in general, I used to always think I was an extrovert, but it's very easy to be an extrovert in the place where you grew up, in places where you're very comfortable. I mean, where I had worked there 9 years. And when you are a leader in your workplace, you are comfortable with everything. I mean, I worked with my dad, and so it was like something I was just very used to. So of course it's easy to be social with other people when you know everything of what's going to happen. But when you come to a new place and you don't know anything and everything's foreign, it becomes this, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I became such an introvert. I remember like calling my mom multiple times, and I was like, well, my best friend is God right now. Like, there was so many times that I was like, I don't have friends here that I can just call up. Like, I could call back my friends back home, but it's like that distance of they're also like doing different things in life now. And I have different areas of life that I'm in here. And so it's not just getting that face-to-face person. So there was so many times where I was like, okay, God, it's me. So I think the hard thing about maybe coming to a church where there's a lot of people is I was very introverted because I just didn't know anything about anything. And when people came and talked to me, I had this almost toxic mentality. I felt like, are you just coming to talk to me because I have no friends? Or, I mean, not always was it like that, but like truly I felt like, oh, maybe they just feel bad that I literally just moved here and I don't have anyone.
Yeah.
So that was something that was hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say too, like, a big church is such an incredible blessing for all the resources, but it can also be really hard when you're coming and you don't really know anyone. I consider myself a very extroverted person, but it was even hard for me coming back to even the church that I was familiar with, because being a big church and a lot of people coming, people tend to come and go or stick with the people that they do know. They're super friendly when you do come, but there's a difference between a quick conversation and a deep conversation. And so often I find myself aching and longing for the deep and meaningful and rich conversations. And you're not going to get that in 2 seconds or a brief interaction in and out of a service. When sometimes smaller churches, they kind of recognize your face and make more of a point to connect with you, not necessarily because you matter more in one church than the other, but it's just because smaller numbers and you're kind of grouping in a way. When that's a big thing at the church here is life groups is gathering with like a small number of people so you can get those rich conversations, but it takes effort and time. And kind of like what Sage, you were mentioning before about seasons and finding your people, something that I found really true and that can be hard at times too is Just people who are our age, I found, can be single, they can be dating, they can be married, but in those stages, your priorities are different. God is always priority one, but beyond that, if you're married, your husband is also a priority before friends and your own child before friends necessarily. It's not a bad thing. It's just the season of life. And same thing with dating. It's just going to look a little bit different how you spend your time. And being single, I just have the ability to serve and go help other people more. So it looks different, friendships now in your 20s versus high school. So you can't go in with the expectations necessarily of being like, I'm going to see this person every day and multiple hours, but more so, how can you make the time of value and have it be quality time and rich time together and meaningful conversations versus just being like on your phone or, I don't know, not really engaging with one another.
I love that so much, that you recognize the difference of seasons and that you appreciate the friendship, but it's going to look different when Sage has a newborn versus when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
She could spend more time with you when she was pregnant, and also then just making the time that you're together meaningful. I'd like to talk about that because, full disclosure, you guys are in a Bible study group together.
Yes.
You started one. So how do you find the people to have a Bible study with? So if, you know, if I'm looking for my relationships and I'm watching you two and I'm like, that's what I want. How do you get a Bible study group going when you're in this big church and you don't know who to ask or who not to ask? Or how does that start? What does it look like?
Yeah. Well, for me, like I've honestly been through a lot of different Bible groups, and we call them life groups here. And there's some groups you mesh with people, and sometimes you just take a little nugget away and learn something from it. Maybe you don't mesh as well as other groups, but what can you grow in and how can they challenge you and make you better? Maybe it's being more patient and quick to listen in different aspects like that. So I've kind of picked up things from a lot of different groups and found amazing women who value faith and their relationship with God and live that out, and they're like-minded. And so it works when you pull them together. So I kind of, how our group kind of started was just by asking people individually instead of joining a group that's formed. I think both are huge blessings for different reasons. Just depends on what you're looking for. But sometimes you do have to take the initiative and just reach out and make connections and put yourself out there. It's not necessarily going to be the group right away, but if it is, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's huge because you're talking about, Sage, you were even saying when you first came here, and you've gone to church your whole life long. So you're even saying it's uncomfortable coming in this church as an outsider. So now for somebody who, like, church is not their norm, now they're coming in and now you're asking them to be uncomfortable again and join a life group. But I love the fact that the expectation isn't necessarily that these are going to be your best friends. This is a starting point where you can get into the Bible. You can meet other people. If nothing else, it's another friendly face when you come in the door every week that, you know, you didn't know before. And so to get the courage to really actually take that jump, was it hard for you at first to join a life group? Or not so much?
Yes and no. Yes, just because like I didn't necessarily have my people here yet and didn't really know a lot of faces. So it's a hard thing to be vulnerable and to be real and share the raw parts of your life that aren't maybe the Facebook you. That can be really challenging. But also, like, we're supposed to confess our sins to one another, and that's how we're healed. And it says that in scripture. And so like I knew it was important and that I wanted people who are a couple steps ahead of me in faith and then like a couple steps behind. I think that's important too, to have the people to challenge you and make you more of a woman of God, and then like take what you learn and pour it into other people too. So that's kind of
huge because you two are the same age, but it doesn't necessarily have to be people of the same age even.
No.
And spiritual growth seasons, you know, that it's nice to have a mixture so that some wiser people can kind of help you, and you can also help other people as well. Did you have something,
Yeah, I
Sage?
was gonna say I am a part of a couple life groups right now, and one of the groups is all moms, and they're more of in their 30s, and I'm 25, so they're a couple years older than me. And then one of my other life groups, the median age I think is like 18 to 22, so I'm definitely on the older end of that. And so I think it's really special. Actually, I do have to say, kind of going back on the question of were you excited for the life group? My first life group, I mean, I consider our group, it was just really special because Naomi reached out right away. And then I had already known one of the other girls. She had come to our wedding, actually. So it was kind of a special start to the group. So those are my core friends. But when I was asked to join another life group, I actually was asked, there was a woman here that organized a life group of all the new members.
Oh.
And so I was able to go, and I was so excited. I remember showing up the first time and I was like, my people, like, I have all people that, like, one of the girls was from Florida that just moved here, and like people from all different areas. So I was super excited for that. And then my other life group that I am a part of, it was funny because driving there, I was so nervous because they're the older people. And I just remember like walking into it and I'm like, I don't have Billy. Like, this is a big step for me. And not that it was a mix of emotions, I guess, to not ramble on. But yeah, I was really excited for the one being a new person with all the other new people. And then very nervous for the group that had been established. But it's been great. And I've learned, different aspects from different people. But yeah.
So overall, good experience getting into a life group to form some godly relationships if you're looking to find godly people to do life with. Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. I would love to talk about parents at this age and relationships with parents, because this is the time in your life when you need to separate. And you need to, I know, quit. Sage is like, when are you going to start, Mom? But so I think that it can be a tricky time in your life because you have to establish some boundaries and some, I was this and I'm not anymore, but I still, respect you or whatever. What have you found to be tricky about relationships with your parents at this age, and or your friends if you don't want to use your own relationship?
I can go first on this one. So I'll tell a little bit about myself in the sense of maybe I shouldn't share this in front, but I was a very difficult teenager and I was a very difficult child in general. And I needed a parent to be a little bit more hands-on for my teenage years and early 20s. Even though I didn't want my parents to be, I needed that. And I remember the phrase that you always used, I'm not your friend, I'm your mom.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
And there was so many times that you would tell me no for something, or like, Sage, you really need to do this. And I'd be like,
see you later. I'm 22.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But looking back, it was the best thing for me. And now that I've gotten married, I think our roles has fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
Because now you're not the person that you are my mom in a sense. You're more of my best friend. And I think once I got married, it was coming to you like a best friend. And then once I had my son, it was like, oh, you've been through all of this before.
Yeah.
And the sense of like, not only am I probably the most similar person to you because you raised me,
Yeah.
and just like the way we are, but I think it's just been like the best of times to know that without a beat, you're still in that mom role, but you're more of a friend.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on the person, because I was more of a difficult case and you needed to be in that role of just guiding me like a curb. But now you're there as my right hand woman. So
It's also different in that I firmly believe that when you get married, my role is to change, that I didn't want to come into it as the nagging mother-in-law. I wanted you to establish your own home and your own family and your own things. And so I remember when Simon, your brother, got married, he got married 18 months before you. And I remember saying to him, I cried for 6 weeks before he got married. Like, I was a total wreck. And he asked why. And I was like, because your childhood is over. Like, my role is done. As a mom, I no longer say, Simon, you need to do that. This is between you and your wife now, And so, yeah, it is interesting. But for you being single, have you noticed a change in the role with your parents as well?
Yeah, for sure. Like for me too, it was a little bit tricky to navigate as well because I was on my own a lot. Like in college, I lived on my own, with roommates, but then I lived on my own in Louisiana. But when I came back, I lived with my parents for a year, just because there was no apartments and stuff available. So that's hard, like when you're under their roof and still kind of want the control almost and details of your life. That can be really challenging. Because you also want to respect and honor them and want them part of your life and want to go to them for guidance and wisdom. But it does just look different in your mid-20s. And sometimes boundaries are a good thing and a healthy thing to step back. And it's not maybe calling them every single day, but checking in, making sure, that you're a part of their life and they're part of your life. But also maybe putting on the reins a little bit when people overstep too, and being honest about it too. Like if they are pushing boundaries and going too far, then taking the time to be like, hey, this is bothering me, or hey, I do need some space and stuff like that. I think that's a healthy thing too, because you are independent. Like we're supposed to do life with other people, but it's a good thing to grow on your own too and go through some of the growing pains too of being independent. And then still knowing you can go to them if you do need help.
And I just had the opposite happen as well. I stopped over at my son's house just a couple days ago, and he informed me I am not stopping enough. So I have let him go too far. And he said, it's been a while since you've been over here. You probably need to be in the loop a little bit more often. So but it's important to have that communication. Because absolutely. I don't want to overstep my role or my bounds. And I don't want to be in their face when they just want to be alone. They work, and then, so it's communicating and saying, Mama, I'd like to see you more often, or, hey, you don't need to call me every day, or, we need a little bit of space here. That's helpful.
It's also not being independent and being to the point of, I'm never coming over, I'm on my own now. It's also making a effort and a point to check in and go and have a meal with your parents or take them out to coffee or do some stuff with them too, because they poured in all these years to your life and helped you grow and learn. So
as a parent, I can assure you that is one of the highlights. When we have our whole family around our kitchen table, that to me is just amazing when we do get a chance to get together and see each other. All right, let's talk dating. So this is tricky, and this was a big part of how you and I got on drastically different paths, because I didn't always appreciate the people you dated. And so looking back now that you've been through it, what would you say to a young person who is dating someone? And let's first say, from both of you, what should a young person be looking for in a spouse? What are non-negotiables? What are, give or take?
I guess I can go
for
first.
it.
This has changed actually drastically since I met my husband, but a non-negotiable, I think, is a spiritual leader, especially in a husband, is someone who puts the Lord first and not just says that, but lives it out. I think that's a huge thing.
What does that look like, Sage? I mean,
going to church no matter what on Sundays when there is so many things going wrong and you're taking your family to church. I think just living out the fruits of the Spirit too. I think this is a big thing that I've learned from him is when I come to him about a problem, instead of him directly starting to give me a solution, I would say 9 times out of 10, we pray about it. And I think just taking initiative and just making a priority in the household, like, especially now that we have our son, making it a priority to listen to sermons throughout the week, listen to Christian music in our home, Bible readings, devotions, praying. I really like the pastor Alistair Begg. He goes through like 6 points but not only how a man treats you, but how he treats other people and the people he's surrounded by, and just his character. I think that's a huge thing of non-negotiables for me. Do you want to go through non-negotiables too?
Sure,
Then
sure.
I can go through my...
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Honestly, you hit on some of the biggest ones for me because I've dated people in the past like who have said they're Christian, who go to church, but they don't live it out.
Yeah.
And the fruits of the Spirit just aren't there. And you touched on it. Like, what are their words? Like, how are they speaking not only to you, but to other people? How are they treating other people? Like, if you go out to eat, like, how are they treating the waiter? Or even the people who aren't as privileged, don't have as much, the needy. Like, are they generous? How are they? But number one, like, do they have a heart for the Lord? Like, is that truthfully their first love? Because if I'm married to them, like, I don't want to be their first love.
Yeah.
I'm sinful. I'm flawed. I fall short in so many ways. And I don't want them to put me above God. Like, if they're looking to God first and most, and I'm doing the same thing, it's just going to bring us together. It's that whole triangle thing. Like, if you're both looking to God. And so for me, that's the number one priority, non-negotiable. And I find, like, if that's what it's stemming from, everything else follows through their character, how they treat you, a spiritual leader, everything. So
you both have dated people in the past that was not the case for. How long did it take you to realize that?
sometime longer longer than others. Usually like a couple months, but like usually I like saw some signs early on, but like I wanted to see examples and know it's not just like a feeling or something I'm thinking or imagining. Like, actually, like, can I base it on a fact or something I am seeing? And are other people noticing this too? Mm-hmm. That's a huge thing too that I found is like dating around people, being in groups, inviting friends and family into it. Because sometimes they see things that you don't or pick up on red flags earlier on. Yeah. And you can just be more aware of it. But also being very prayerful in the middle of it too, of dating and always. Honestly.
So what do you say to the person who is dating someone and that's not what they're seeing, but they've been praying that that person would become that?
Yeah.
This is such a good question because I was with someone for 5 years who was not a spiritual leader, and I saw red flags and I thought, well, God wants all people to be saved. Surely I will be the person to bring him closer to God. And I think the devil works so hard in those relationships because, of course, he wants you to be with someone who's not going to bring you closer to God. That's his main goal. And I just remember so many times, like, we would pray together and then he would start doing a devotion and I was like, okay, this is good. Like, forget what everyone else said. Like, he's changing. And then it would go back to the same ways. And then it was a little seed of like, oh, he went to church. Okay, great. Like, he's changing again. Mm-hmm. And I think there were so many times where I wasn't listening to everyone else around me that was saying, Sage, like, this is not the person you're supposed to be with. But one, I so desperately, like, I think it's biblical. So I know it's biblical for a woman to want to get married.
Yeah.
It's a very normal thing for women to want to have kids and stuff too. Yeah. And so out of my, like, I want to be married and I want to have kids so bad, I was taking that as, well, this must be the person that God gave me because, occasionally he goes to church with me. Occasionally he opens the Bible. Occasionally he does. And no matter, like, it doesn't matter that 75% of the time he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
No one else knows, like, I'm still doing this stuff, and so that was, I mean, more than anyone what I went through. And I think, I think that's very difficult for people too, because there's so many times that we dismiss all of the other people's, like, Sage, I don't know, like, there's something not, and we're like, well, you just don't know what I see. Like, you just aren't in the relationship. So,
Yeah. And you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it goes back to as well, like, what are your motives and goals for it? Because, like, maybe in that stage of life, maybe I'm speaking out of place, but maybe a little bit of that motive was more so marriage and having a kid than truthfully, are you guys able to serve God's kingdom and people better together?
Oh, for sure.
Because truthfully, like, I would rather be single than married and have kids. And I really want to be married and have kids. Like, that's a desire of mine. But if I can serve God's kingdom and reach more people and tell more people about Jesus being single, then I'm okay with that. So I think truthfully, stripping it back and being like, okay, what is the goal of marriage?
Yeah.
It's not just to be married. It's not just to have kids. It's to be refined and grow closer to God and serve the kingdom better together than you would apart. And so I don't know, like, it's wrestling with that sometimes in your singleness when it is hard and settling for relationships that maybe the guy isn't a spiritual leader or leading you in that direction, and being like, okay, truthfully, is God enough for me? Is he truthfully enough? Like, am I okay with that? If I never get married, am I content? And it's, yeah.
I love that you both have been so honest with that, because both of you have eventually stepped out of the relationship. And now you're on the other side of that. And Sage, now on the other side of that, you can now look back and say, phew, it is such a different thing to be with a spiritual leader, with a guy who loves the Lord with his whole heart. That doesn't mean it isn't devastating to walk away from a 5-year relationship.
Yeah.
And you, on the other side of it, can say, I'm serving the Lord. Yeah, I was in a relationship. I was in these relationships. But at the end of the day, I knew they were not going to lead me to serving the Lord more and better. And that's one thing I like to tell young people, is that sometimes what you're getting into is you might be spending the rest of your life trying to get this guy into church, or you can marry someone who loves the Lord already, and you both do a lot of work in God's kingdom. In the moment, you just want to get married. In the moment, you want the relationship. But 5 years later, when you have 1 or 2 kids with this person, and you're the only one going to church, you're the only one telling them about God, you might not feel the same. There's a good chance you won't feel the same. So I love that you are both mature enough to see that.
And can I be honest with something that's really helped me through it too? One of my favorite Psalms is Psalm 139. And in it, it talks about God ordaining each day of our life before we even existed, before we were even born, like before he knit us together in our mother's womb. And that gives me such comfort and peace knowing that, because I can't mess up God's plan for my life. No matter how hard I try, I don't have that power and control. And honestly, I don't want it. There's so many times I've thought something was a great idea and it falls through or it happens. I'm like, wow, that was not a good plan. And so knowing like, okay, this might be what I want, but if this is God's plan for my life, it's going to happen. I can't mess it up. So having peace in that God holds all your days and he has your plans, the plan for your life mapped out. You don't have to stress about it.
What is one thing that you would love to tell young men in their 20s, Christian men who were raised in the church? If you had a chance to stand in front of young single men, what would you tell them to take seriously? What would you tell them, don't go down that path if you had that chance?
Yeah. probably just seeking the Lord first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. So making Bible study church a time of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
And trying to take the expertise of my lovely husband. I think there's so much pressure on guys, especially in their 20s, from the world.
Yeah.
It's a very vulnerable time, and it's like all the world says is, make sure you sleep with enough people, make sure that you have a good paying job, that you have lots of money so people find you attractive, and like you have to be super fit and you have to be X, Y, and Z. And I think
drink, do drugs,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
like
vape,
try
do
out all the stuff
try it all.
and I think what I would say to a 20-something is your identity is in the Lord, just like what you had said. Like, you don't need to be a part of the world.
Mhm.
What Christian women are looking for is literally just a man after God's heart. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And I just want to like embrace even the Christian women though too. I think when our society tells you like you have to be super thin and you have to all the things too. Just God loves you so much. Like your identity is solely and purely in the Lord. And I think that's what I would tell men. We don't care about all that extra stuff. We just want someone who can lead a family, because we can pick you, but our future kids can't pick their father. We want a good spouse and we want a good father. And that's truly all. And a servant.
Yeah. And I would also say, too, for them, like, group, find a community, find mentors, because it's hard to live that out and walk that out on your own, especially if you don't have that example.
Right.
That's a lot to carry as a guy. And I mean, I wouldn't want to figure out how to be a spiritual leader on my own.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to be real with other people and ask for help if you need it.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the fact that you are telling young men, we don't need 6 figures.
No.
And we're not asking for that at all. And I know all your guy friends are going to give you a ton of crap if you don't sleep with her. But we're saying that's super awesome if you choose that path. And so follow God, and we would love to follow you as you follow God.
Yeah.
If you go down that path. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. But also for women, too, like, if you expect that in a guy, like, you have to be living that out, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you also have to prioritize your faith then.
Yeah, for sure. Because if he's prioritizing his faith and you're not going to be attractive to him either. So that's huge. What are some things that you think older people maybe don't get about your age group? Specifically, what I would like to ask is that you guys grew up with technology. You had it as teens. And I love, Sage, that you just brought up to young women, don't think that you have to have, a size 4 body or whatever.
Yeah.
What are some things that maybe my generation, I know I've said to my kids multiple times, I don't think I understand this when they're telling me something because I didn't have this at 13 or at 18 or whatever. Honestly, I think your generation, I can laugh about it now. When I was 18, I got in a car and drove to Chicago, and my parents didn't see me for 3 days, nor did they know if I was alive or dead. I didn't have directions. My dad took me for a walk beforehand and said, Amber, on the way there, you're going to go east and south, and on the way back, you're going north and west. And I was like, I'm following signs. That's all I was doing. Whereas you're in the generation that we are like, text me when you get there. Text me, tell me when you're leaving. Text me when you stop for gas. Text me. I think you guys have had a totally different experience than we have. So what can my generation know from you guys?
Yeah. It's a really hard thing to navigate because it's easy to pick up the phone and so many people are on it. That's how they feel connected, but it also makes you feel so lonely because you don't have that face-to-face, the real deep conversations. So it's such a tension of when to post, when to be online, navigating boundaries with a phone, how much to be on it, when to step back from it, and then like also being in real conversations and knowing how to navigate that too. So that's a really hard thing too, especially for me. Like I work a lot with the teens here and have some good friends who are in college, teens that stage of life, so many of them are on their phones. Some of them now don't do social media at all, which I find super impressive. But some people, that is how they connect.
Yeah.
And it might seem silly to like maybe your generation or a different one, like Snapchat is just usually pictures of a face. But for some reason, that can be a talking point later on or make the bridge for deeper conversations with people. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like builds up repetition and almost like just seeing you kind of knowing what you're up to. So it's just a hard thing to navigate sometimes.
Yeah.
I actually was going to go further of like, I think I came off wrong before. I'm not very good at technology, so I actually try to stay off my phone. There's so many times, Naomi can attest to this, where I just don't answer people most of the time. And I think it's actually a really weird transition in our society because I think more and more younger people are actually giving up social media. I've seen a lot of young people actually distance themselves because I think it can be toxic of the mentality of, oh, people just post like picture perfect moments.
Yeah.
And they just post the pictures of them, you know, maybe edited or maybe like, oh, this is a great photo of our family. It looks everyone's happy. Where the reality was the kids were screaming 5 minutes before the picture and, you know, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a really different age of, you know, maybe more younger people transitioning off social media. And I think, like you said, I think it's finding that connection. So if I were to tell older generation what's difficult is maybe, I think we are figuring out that social media isn't always the best for us. And I think it's now trying to find that perfect middle point of some people still are using social media and some people are transitioning off of it. And so how do we create meaningful messages to other people while still using the benefit of social media? But maybe I could,
No,
that's just what I
so
have
true.
seen.
That's what I've
So,
seen too.
But
I think that's helpful for my generation too, that I love that you've brought it up multiple times. You're looking for meaningful relationships, meaningful conversations. And so I would say for my generation, don't run from it. When you see these young people in church or when you see them around, talk to them, find out what's going on in their life and be open to supporting them and giving them advice from when you were that age or whatever. And I love that that's what you're looking for. And you usually find what you're looking for because you'll search for it. So that's a great thing. This has been a really fun conversation. Sage, do you remember when we used to go on vacation? I would always post the blooper reels on Facebook afterwards. So we would get like 1 or 2 really good pictures from when we were gone. And then I would be like, and this is the 4 pictures that it took to get that. Because I just wanted to be real with people that this isn't all that it's cracked up to be. But this has been a great conversation. Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it.
thank you for having us. Yeah, this has been awesome. I appreciate you. Love you, Mom.
I just want to take a minute to, first of all, thank Time of Grace for giving me this platform for the last 6 years. It's been an incredible experience. I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to sit in front of a microphone and talk for a half an hour once a week for 6 years. It's been amazing. And I so appreciate that Time of Grace was willing to put me in this position and had confidence to keep it going all this time. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank them. And then second of all, I'd like to thank every single person who has given me a chance. I really want to thank the people who emailed me or came up to me at a speaking event sometime and said, Amber, I listened to your podcast and you're one of my best friends, because I have felt the connection too. When I record, I always think of the faces behind the camera who I'm talking to. And so I am so very grateful that I've just had this experience and that you have been willing to come alongside me and share the experience with me.
We are so thankful for the work Amber Albee Swenson has done for Time of Grace. From publishing over 300 episodes of Little Things, to writing a wide variety of books and blog posts, to hosting the Time of Grace TV program, and working on faith-enriching women's events and more, Amber's passion for using her God-given gifts to share the good news of Jesus with others shines through. We are very thankful for her efforts and contributions to the ministry and pray for God's blessings on her future endeavors. Thank you so much to all the viewers and listeners of Little Things. The Time of Grace team is incredibly grateful for all of you and hope you keep following Amber at www.amberlbswenson.org and at AmberLBSwenson on Instagram.